BizTech's Health and Wellness Show with me, Brian Fernandez. Our guest today is Dr. Thiruchelvam. He's the Deputy President of the Psoriasis Association of Malaysia. The Psoriasis Association of Malaysia is a leading national organization dedicated to improving the lives of people with psoriasis. Now, to tell us more, welcome to the show, Dr. Thiru.
Thank you, Brian, for having me in this show. And I'm glad that you have this topic, psoriasis, today. We just celebrated the World Psoriasis Day 2022 on Sunday. And this is an event that is held annually by the International Federation of Psoriasis Associations, whose members number some 50 odd countries, including Malaysia. The idea of this event is basically to spread awareness about this disease called psoriasis. Brian, you know that in Malaysia alone, it is estimated that about 300 to 500,000 people are afflicted with this condition. Although, according to the Ministry of Health National Register, there are some 24,000 people who have been recorded in their register. This disparity is because of, not many people come about to say that they have psoriasis. Psoriasis is, I say this because psoriasis is a skin disorder that is driven by an overly active immune system that affects many areas of the body. And there are varying levels of psoriasis, and it ranging from mild to severe, and it manifests itself in various forms. You find in most cases, most people, you can distinguish those are having psoriasis. They are characterized by having very scaly spots, red patches on skin. I think dry, cracked skin that in very severe cases may bleed actually, and very thickened in your nails, pitted kind of nails actually, So, but Brian, the sad part of this is psoriasis is incurable right now. That's the sad part. But it is not contagious. And tied to the statement I made earlier about why not many people report, because of when in its most severe form, it manifests itself very clearly, and people do not want to go out and be, and then they'll be embarrassed by huge stares from others, and so they tend to keep to themselves actually. And this would lead to what I would say is that many of them fall into anxiety, and even worse still, depressive conditions actually. And in fact, talking about this, this year's theme by the International Federation of Psoriasis Association is mental health. And not many people realize that psoriasis itself is closely associated also with mental health. Why is this so? It's because that because people do not want to go out because they're embarrassed to see others, and then this would feed itself into your various mental health conditions actually. The vice versa, you find that people with having mental health, that itself will create stress conditions that would trigger psoriasis. So I say all this because besides the fact that it is an immune-mediated kind of disease. Psoriasis, Brian, has um, is also related to metabolic syndromes. What do I mean by here? It is which includes things like obesity, cardiovascular diseases, high blood your condition, high blood cholesterol. So when you have all these things, the risk of getting heart diseases is very high. I must mention this to you, Brian, that um, psoriasis is just not only a skin disease. I mean, I, it's it's much more than a skin disease. It's more than just cosmetics alone, and it does not affect only the skin, but it also affects what we do not see. It affects your blood vessels too, and that's why it's causing these other problems that I mentioned to you earlier. So
But Dr. Thiru, can you just give us a perspective of what are the triggers and the causes of psoriasis
yeah.
as a root cause?
The root causes are still very they're hard to pinpoint, but largely it is triggered by, largely by genetics. One is genetics. Secondly, it's by environmental factors, meaning that some people, when they go to some certain conditions, that will trigger them to have this. And then some will be stress related. In fact, many of it is stress related, Brian. That is so and some is because of you take some kinds of food do not agree with you at all, you know. So these are largely the trigger points that would enhance, would trigger, would your the psoriasis. So being the environmental, um, stress, genetics. If one parent of yours has psoriasis, likelihood of you getting psoriasis is about 25%.
I
If
see.
both your parents have psoriasis, that proportion would increase to something like 60% or so. So I'm until today, Brian, I'm trying to see who my parents don't have psoriasis, and I'm saying probably my grandparents, you may have skipped a generation or things like that. But mine wasn't really very severe. I would really at one stage it was serious, but and now it is mild. So I have come to terms with it, and I know that there will be times when you will have some periods where unaffected is like it's like the lull before the storm, that kind of thing, you know. Uh, you may ask me, Brian, what age do they affect actually?
I was going to ask you that exactly.
I mean, it may affect from all ages, but studies have shown that it is largely affecting people in the late 20s to and people in the 50s and 60s. Why? I'm not very sure actually. You know, so but you can find this even some children. I know of one of my colleagues. She's a psoriasis patient herself, and both her kids, even below 6 years old, are having psoriasis, and that's sad, and very very sad. But children don't think very much about it, like adults, So if you start thinking more about it, you'll probably get flares all over actually. So and it affects in the context of Malaysia, there's no predisposition by a particular community or race towards psoriasis. It affects all ages, all races. Yeah.
Okay, and how about, so you mentioned that there's no cure for
No cure.
psoriasis,
Yes.
but obviously there must be ways and treatments to manage
Yes.
it. Could you shed some light into how
Right.
patients can manage this condition?
Thank you, Brian. I mean, it's not like I'm painting a very bleak picture. No, what we have right now is that you can suppress the you know the flares that manifest when you are infected with, when you're down with psoriasis. But I mean, most doctors will look at you, see how serious or how severe the psoriasis is, and they will normally will go by on this physical, and then some will do some tests on a biopsy on you, and then we'll start you on a treatment of either a topical treatment, which on ointments, creams, and things like that. And if that doesn't work, then they will move on to kind of systemic medication, which is stronger than the first one that I mentioned. And some of them even will take you to even to phototherapy. That is, you go to under a particular beam of light, a UVB kind of light, which helps in addressing this problem. Now, if all these things don't work, there's a new class of treatment which we refer to as biologics, and this treatment is given in the form of injections, and this has known to be very, very effective, Brian. But the sad part of it is that it's good for 2 years, 3 years, after which your condition reappears.
Okay, so there is then light at the end of the tunnel for suffering.
There is some light. I like to believe that we need to be hopeful, to be hopeful for this. There is some, but the treatment that I mentioned to you just now about biologics is that currently in Malaysia, it is very, very expensive. It can range from 30,000 to 50,000 ringgit for the entire treatment.
And how is that provided for in our public health system? Is that provided for, or is that mainly in a private health context only?
No. In the public sector, they have a specially assisted program run by Ministry of Health, but they unfortunately, given the high cost of this treatment, they are unable to provide it to everybody. So they'll probably go to people who are really severe and who have taken all the other treatment regimes and have failed to produce any results at all, and they'll probably put them under this under biologics. So again, here this is in the private sector. Of course, if you pay, you can have access to that treatment. So again, Brian, you raise up an important point, that is equity issues. Not everybody can afford this, but in the public sector, unfortunately, because of limited budget, they are only able to provide this new form of treatment to only a few people. So this is a new one, and hopefully in the next few years we'll hope to see probably biosimilars or generic versions of this making their way into the market, and hopefully more people can access this. And we in PAM, in the Psoriasis Association of Malaysia, Brian, we are trying to work out with other groups to not only the Psoriasis Association, but others in the Cancer Society and others in an alliance called Non-Communicable Diseases, the NCD Alliance, where we are in the process of putting up a kind of a memorandum to the Ministry of Health to address many of these issues on enhanced treatment for people who are unable to afford this kind of treatment, and then improving the access of patients to specialists at a much earlier stage. Brian, many patients, initially many patients, when they were treated when they approached some of the general doctors for their condition in psoriasis, they were all thought that, and especially for when you have it in the scalp, they think it's a dandruff, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, because you see a lot of this kind of thing dropping on your onto your shirts and things like that. So, and then they go back by putting shampoos here and there, and it doesn't work actually. So, and this goes on for 1, 2, 3 years, and and by that time things get worse. The important thing for psoriasis patients is that early treatment is absolutely essential, because it will then prevent you, because as you delay it, it becomes more difficult to address this.
So then, Dr. Thiru, so that's obviously a problem in Malaysia then. And,
Yeah.
and I think the WHO also, as early as 2014,
Yes.
recognized that it's a serious non-communicable disease, that governments around the world and have to implement policies to improve the lives of people are living with the condition. And early diagnosis is really part of that recommendation, isn't it? Early diagnosis and early treatment.
I know. You're absolutely right. I know in Malaysia, if you go and speak to KJ or Ministry of Health, and they will tell you that yes, we are trying to do everything within our means. The fact remains that they only have got about 53 dermatologists for the whole country. So.
So we have a shortage of dermatologists.
Of dermatologists and I'm not even spoken about those people suffering from arthritis, rheumatologists and things like that. Brian, that about 30% of psoriasis patients go on to develop what we call a psoriatic arthritis. That is, you find joints in the fingers, and and that's quite severe actually. There's also another and rarely do you find that people develop psoriatic arthritis without going through psoriasis. Very rare. There are, but generally 30% of psoriasis patients will go on to develop psoriatic arthritis. And even then, I'm told by my colleagues that they've been wrongly diagnosed and things like that. When the symptoms initially, when they were manifested, they were told something else actually, that they were suffering from osteoarthritis or whatever. So you are absolutely right that early treatment is very, very important. That more people need to have access to very effective treatment. But again, this is, Brian, this is related to a cost factor, and also, in Malaysia, we don't have a insurance scheme, a national insurance scheme.
Yes.
So unlike countries like in this region, like in Korea, in Taiwan, where 95% or almost all the population, they are covered by insurance, so they can have access to this kind of effective kind of medication. So,
but I think, Dr. Thiru, one of the key things, and looking at our domestic situation in Malaysia,
right.
One of the key things, therefore, is the role that associations like the Psoriasis Association plays in terms of just developing awareness and education programs to really educate the general population about psoriasis, because as you said, it's about 500,000 to 800,000 people that are actually afflicted by this disease.
Right.
Many who are not clear about how serious it could develop into. And that's the education process, isn't it? That's what your association does, isn't it? What other key objectives do you have as an association?
Basically, the key objectives of what we want to do, you have pointed out, that is basically to raise awareness, advocate the importance of psoriasis in the agendas of the powers to be, that is mainly Ministry of Health, and also what we do is to provide support to many of these patients, in the sense of some of them would like, they come to us and they say they've got this. If we do not know, we put them to doctors who are with the assistant or with others, and also we provide kind of peer support for the patients actually. So this is what we do, Brian. You must understand that we are largely an NGO without any government support or anything like that.
How are you funded? Are you supported by corporations or individual donors?
We are supported by individual donors. And then when we organize a function, just like we had on Sunday, we get support from a number of pharmaceutical companies, and not all, but quite a number of them support. And so this is a thing that we need to look in the long term. How do we make ourselves more self-sustaining, in the way we operate this, how do we work to get into Ministry of Health agenda for NGOs, that we are doing a job on their behalf actually, Brian. We are informing the public. Brian, not many people know what psoriasis is all about,
Yes.
They don't know what is it. I can, and then when they see a patient like that, they will try to avoid even shaking hands with that patient.
But it's psoriasis is non-contagious, isn't it?
It is non-contagious, but not many people, they get frightened by when they look at those severe kind of cases, So I don't blame them. I mean, it is a case of basically ignorance, and it's a job of people like us and others. We need to reach out to people and tell them this is what we have done. We are also trying to, I must tell you that we are trying to champion young parliamentarians, which we did. We tried to get somebody to come on our World Psoriasis Day on Sunday. And we need to push this agenda so that if we can get the young parliamentarians to form a select committee on health, and probably they can push this kind of issues in Parliament. That's what we hope for, somebody who champions this agenda on health issues. And we got the Galen Center we are working with them. We got the Galen Center for Health and Social Policy to submit a white paper on. They did an excellent paper, Brian, about 2 years ago, and many of their recommendations are still very valid today. And things like the issues that we just discussed about, improving the access to treatment, the number of specialists especially in the rural areas and things like that, and also improving the national registrar on psoriasis, which is kept by the Ministry of Health. So if we can do all this, I think we'll do we will slowly get there. I think most patients in Malaysia, based on a recent survey, they just want to. Their dream is to see that their plaques, the red spot disappear from their skin. I think a future without flares. And I think if we work together with all parties, both government, industry, and together with the society, NGOs, and all that, I think together we can get there better than trying to work out on individually. Actually, So I must tell you, Brian, I forgot you mentioned about what we in Psoriasis Association of Malaysia. We are basically a station of volunteers. Many of them are psoriasis patients themselves. Myself, the president, all of that. Okay. I think we all feel that at least come, let's do something about we have gone through this, and let us do something for the patients themselves, and that's what we are trying to do. But I think we need to do more. I think we can definitely need more. But on this point, Brian, I must say that Novartis recently brought together 4 associations, psoriasis associations in the country together. I'm not sure whether you've heard about it. The Psoriasis Association of Malaysia, the Psoriasis Association of Johor, what we call it, the Persatuan Penyayang Psoriasis Pulau Pinang. I call it P6. and then the Arthritis Foundation of Malaysia. Together, we have formed what we call Partners in Psoriatic Care. It was formed in April this year, and I think they will soon be launching their activities soon. I think they've started. They were about to launch in our psoriasis event, but they were unable to do so. But they will be forming there. So they've already formed, and I think that's a wonderful thing, because what it shows us that we need to share our resources. No one organization is able to do, cover the entire country. And we need to get people in Sabah and Sarawak working together too in this, because psoriasis affects every part of the country. You find psoriatic patients throughout the depth and breadth of the country. And we need to address and need to support them in whatever we could, to give them hope, as you say, that one day this condition, this of theirs will not be there. It will not be there, So I'm not so sure how you would you like to ask? Would you have anything else to add, Brian?
No, that's all. In fact, I was just going to just say, Dr. Thiru, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
Sorry, Brian.
Oh, Dr. Thiru, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
Oh, thank you, Brian, and thank you to your team. And you have a good day, Brian.
Thank you. I'm Brian Fernandez, and we've been speaking to Dr. K. Thiruchelvam, the Deputy President of the Psoriasis Association of Malaysia, on BizTech's Health and Wellness Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. It'll also be on our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.